And with that, I'll pass it off to Jennifer Mahaffey, your board president, and Taylor Morrison, representative. Yeah, that works.
HOA manager.
I don't know. There you go.
Okay, that's fine. Well, welcome everyone. Like Takara said, welcome to our second quarter HOA meeting. It's April and it's nice out, so I hope you're all getting a chance to get outside. I will be doing that after this call, so I'm looking forward to that. Let's see. So we'll call a meeting formally to order at 4:03. And then our first order of business is approving our previous meeting minutes, which is the January 2025 meeting minutes, which were sent over to the board in your board packet. Cara is sharing her screen. There they are. That's the agenda.
Are you seeing it now? It should be showing the January 2022 meeting minutes. Can you see that okay?
Nope. Oh, there they are. It's just delayed. There they are.
Just a heads up to everybody on the meeting. We have been having some intermittent Zoom issues today. So if it's slow or delayed, please know that it is most likely the system as a whole and not your device.
Correct.
Okay. Can you see it now? Everything's good?
Yes, I move to approve the minutes.
Second.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Good. Thank you. All right. So we'll make sure those get on the portal if they aren't already. Let's see. So our next section is our public comment area. We actually did not have any topics submitted prior to the board meeting. So I didn't know if there was anything that someone wanted to present for public comment and discussion. If you were attending our previous meeting in January, an example of that was what Michael Grant presented regarding mailing issues and concerns. So if you have something, please either raise your hand, unmute yourself, or put it in the chat. We will give it a minute or so just to see. And if not, we'll move on to the next section.
Hi, this is Jana and Richot, and for some reason I cannot get our video to work. But we had asked, yes, we had asked to speak about the swimming pool.
Jan, we actually have you next on the agenda, so we'll get there in just a hot second. No, you're good. You were in advanced submission.
Okay.
That's okay. Well, why don't we just go ahead and why don't we go to the homeowner submitted questions, because Jan did submit a question to Takara, if you want to get going on that section.
Sure. There we go. All right, let me go ahead and read the question that was submitted. So the request was that the HOA increase the water temperature of our indoor pool from 80 to 85 degrees to 82 to 87 degrees. Currently, the average temperature is 83 degrees. We request that the average temperature be increased to 85 degrees. In addition, we request further discussion regarding current access to the pool from either the ladies' or men's locker room to the outside patio gate. So, do you mind if I start off, Jennifer?
Yes, please do.
Okay, so in preparation for this question coming, I just want to let you know that we've been doing a lot of research and gathering information from our various vendors on what it would take to implement this request. So I'm just going to start with a little historical information about the pool temperature. So the pool temperature itself is set to be in a range between 80 and 85 degrees. The room in the pool room itself, the HVAC system that was set up in there, in order to keep the temperature low and keep it, down towards the pool, the room in the pool room has to be set to 3 degrees warmer than the warmest temperature. So right now, the temperature in the pool room is set to 88 degrees. And that is the room's temperature as a whole. So in order to facilitate a request like this, we would be bumping the temperature of the room itself and heating that pool room to 90 degrees. Again, all is feasible. It would increase the density of the air in that room as far as the humidity just in nature. But it is something that is manageable. The second part of that is, in order to increase the temperature of the pool, you also have to increase the pool chemicals that you are putting into the pool on a regular basis, because as you know, hotter, warmer, wetter places tend to they tend to breed more bacteria. So then we end up having to use more chlorine to counteract that. But then in addition to that, the chlorine starts to evaporate. So we have to put more chlorine on top of that. And then the last portion that was part of my research is working with the installer. So currently our pool equipment is under a warranty. And that, that's well and good. We are more than welcome to increase the temperature of our pool within a certain range and not have it lose that warranty, but it could, keyword, expedite the process of the equipment wearing out faster. And also to that point, the pool is heated through natural gas. So we would also see an increase to electrical, chemical, natural gases, possibly maintenance to the pool. So with that, we wanted to gather that information to prepare that, to let the community know that this is definitely something that is possible, but it will be at an increased cost to the association. This being the first year that we've had the pool open, we don't have a lot of data as to the true costs of what it will take to maintain the pool, because as of right now, we have about 6 months, give or take, of usage, and that's all we have to go off of. And in the last bit of that is we've only experienced our pool in the winter months where it is colder air temperature, colder outside. Going into the summer and spring, with all the windows on that building, we might feel a natural heat increase with that. So that is all that I have to share regarding that aspect. Jennifer, Steve, or Stan, do you have anything that you want to piggyback on that?
Well, I would invite other homeowners present at this board meeting. Do you find the pool to be too cold? Do you find it to be adequate for your activities? Please unmute yourself and let us know your opinions.
There is a comment in the chat that says, I'm concerned that those temps would be too hot for lap swimmers and too hot for the summertime, let alone increase the cost of the additional power.
So in general, that's what in general, that's what I'm hearing too at office hours when I pose this question as often as I can, because one homeowner brings me an issue. I try to ask more homeowners, how do you feel? Do you feel the same way? And the overwhelming response I get is the pool temperature is currently appropriate for the activity level that I'm involved in, and that being lap swimming or that being water aerobics. And speaking quite candidly, Jan, the budget for the pool heating, well, forget the pool water heating, the budget for the air temperature heating in that room is killing us budget-wise. The cost of it is killing us budget-wise already for January, February, and March. Increasing the temperature, it would really hurt us all.
So in addition to that, it just...
This is Craig Gable.
Oh, go ahead, Craig.
I tend to think for my activities, current temperature is perfectly fine.
So in the chat, we have a comment that says, too hot for lap swim. And when you are swimming, you should be moving all the time for exercise. And another comment coming in that says, seems okay to me, the temp is fine. One thing just to keep in mind is that we were planning on sending out a community survey to everybody in the community with just a quick, maybe maximum 10 questions that would highlight your usage of the pool, what you think about that, so that we can get a true gauge of what the, I hate to say it, temperature of the temperature is. So you'll see that coming out probably by the end of this week, if not early next week. So if you all can take the time to go in, answer the questions so we can get a true representation of what the community wants as a whole, I'm more than happy to share those results once we receive them.
We found the pickleball survey actually rather informative and helpful. So we're hoping that we can glean, information from our pool survey as well to kind of help us where we're at right now. Obviously, we'll evolve as the community evolves, but it'll help us with the current situation.
And one last thing I do want to mention, it was later on the time in the agenda, but we are working with a vendor to have a portion of the windows that look out into the oak preserve frosted, not tinted, to add a little additional privacy. We think that will also help hold the temperature in, especially in like the winter months when you see that condensation building up on those windows. I I don't have an exact timeline of when that will take place. They have to order the product, receive it, and cut it to size. So we will have an update on that going out to the community once that is in progress.
I'll just piggyback on that. That's actually being funded by Taylor Morrison too. So I don't want people to feel like that was a cost to the association. So that is something that we're addressing on behalf of the community for that purpose. So yeah, so obviously it's going to be a continuing conversation until we get a little bit more information. And obviously we want to collect as much information as we can before we do start making changes. So we're all making an educated decision on behalf of the association. So I think that was that one question. Didn't we have one other homeowner submitted question?
We did. Before we move on, was there any other comments or any information that anyone else in the community would like to mention before we move on? Going? Okay, let me go ahead and get to going back and sharing my screen, and we'll go to the next question. Okay, can everyone see my screen? Give me a heads up, a nod. Perfect. Okay, the second question that we had come in was regarding the pavilion. When phase one moved in 7 years ago, you were all amazed at the beauty of our pavilion and the amenities that were at our fingertip. But now it seems the focus is on the villages with no continued care for the interior or exterior of the pavilion. The rugs are fraying and dirty and need to be replaced, along with the inside and outside furniture. The outside furniture sits out in the weather and never moved undercover as it was when I and a few others were on the initial pavilion committee. It's almost like a forgotten stepchild when it was originally placed on as a sales tool for the Ovation at Oak Tree. Why is there no ice machine for like the Villages currently has? Why should we have to drive up to the Villages to get ice for any private events? I did a brief calculation for usage of the pavilion just for the month of April. These hours again are an estimate, and some months are more than this. The private usage for the pavilion in the month of April is approximately 114, not including card games, etc. That is 1,368 in a 12-month period, nearly 10,000 hours for the last 7 years. My question, when are we going to get the pavilion back to the beauty it once was and include some of these extra amenities the village now has, including an ice machine? After all, the pavilion is where we are allowed to host our private events, and it is falling apart. Possibly change things around to give the pavilion meeting room for all committees. Thank you for your consideration. Steve, do you want to go ahead and jump into that one for us?
Absolutely. So while the board is likely going to say no to the previous question, for the most part, we're going to say yes to the replacement of some furniture in the pavilion. But we want you to understand what that means when we replace something prior to the year it was budgeted for. And that involves a quick overview of the reserve study. And the reserve study, it's a detailed analysis of a property's physical components and their associated costs over time. It takes into account various factors such as the age, condition, and expected useful life of each component, as well as any expected changes in the market conditions, interest rates, and inflation. The goal of our reserve study is to help property owners and board members and managers plan and budget for necessary repairs, replacements, and maintenance over the long term. So what Takara has brought up here is just one of the many pages in our reserve study, which you can find on the portal under documents, and then you would click on association budget, and then you would click on reserve study 2025. In fact, if you want to look at how they've changed ever since the inception of the community, they're all there since the beginning of the community. In this case, it was planned for by a reserve study group, which is a third party that is not associated with NOVA or the HOA or Taylor Morrison or anybody, that we would be expected to have to change out the fixtures and furniture in the year 2029. We're going to go ahead and do it within the next 12 months for a safety issue, because we've already got one broken chair, and we're seeing that the legs of the chairs are digging into the furnishings, into the carpet, into the rug. It's a rug. And it's hard to push back on those chairs and get up from them without getting those legs caught into them, etc. But it was something that we were planning to budget and spend in 2029 based upon the reserve study. So doing it in 2025 means taking up to a $20,000 hit or possibly more in the year 2025. So it'll leave a hole in our reserve cash, which we can replace immediately, or we can wait to fill until 2029 because we will have already spent it. But we're going to be a little behind the 8 ball when doing this. Again, we're going to go ahead and do it. It's a safety issue. Another example of something that, well, it's important to know the reserve study is, it's an approximation of when equipment is going to need to be replaced. But it's a very detailed approximation. It's a best guess based upon educated, you get what I'm saying, I'm sure. But when we come across something that the reserve study tells us we need to do, we look at it and go, no, it doesn't need it. It's perfectly fine. Then we can take that money and carry it over. And we've done that already with one thing, which is the resealing and repainting of the pavilion parking lot. It's in great condition, and it's not money we needed to spend in the year that they told us to, which was last year. So it can even out a little bit. But we want you to understand, by spending this money, you're not going to find it in the 2025 budget. We're going to take a little hit into the reserves. Rest assured, though, that our reserve fund is at nearly $450,000 right now, so we can take that hit. And on the second page that you just clicked over to, Takara, the rug is what I was going to try to point to here. That rug was supposed to last until 2033, and we're going to replace it 7 or 8 years ahead of time. Not as much of a hit, but I hope that helps everybody to understand that you're not going to see it in the budget. We're going to spend the money. It is a safety issue. And hopefully that gives you a better understanding of the reserve study and what we use it for. And right now, I'd like to invite other board members and anybody present for public comment on this issue.
I'm going to address the ice comment because there's actually reasons why. So the coffee machine, the ice machine needs to be plumbed. And there's actually a little history with the actual coffee machine. It was originally purchased for the villages. We were told we didn't have the ability to do, pavilion. Thank you, Takara. It was originally purchased for the pavilion. We asked for one that wasn't plumbed, but we still got one that needed to be plumbed and found out you need it to be plumbed for obvious reasons. It needs water. So it actually sat and waiting for the villages, and now it has its home up at the villages. It's a similar deal and situation with an ice machine. It has to be plumbed in order for it to get water to make ice. It's not as easy as let's just dump an ice machine in there. And I do believe, Takara, if you can help me remember correctly, that people do bring ice or have always brought ice in and then they've left it in. I know it's not ideal. I've been on site when people have come and gotten ice too. Maybe there's a better resolution for the future, but I don't think we're going to go out and physically purchase an ice machine just for private events, situations like that for the pavilion. So I think there's just more mechanical reasons. It's not just we don't think so. It's just more complicated. Where are we going to put it? Where do we have to plumb it? It's just not ideal and realistic unless someone has a solution that they can provide that we're not aware of. So that's the ice portion of it. And really the rug itself, to Steve's point of the conversation, the rug itself is actually in good condition other than the binding that gets damaged by chair and foot traffic, which Takara actually has researched into possibly getting it repaired. Do you want to speak to that real quick?
Sure. Yeah. So in preparation for this was actually an area of discussion before the topic was submitted. So we have been looking at this as a group for, I want to say since 2024, about talking about getting everything back up to speed. So the chairs that are in the pavilion, and not to correct Steve, but to recorrect Steve, is we actually have 2 that are gone at this point. We have 2 that are broken, 2 that we cannot replace, because if we were to take the bases of those chairs and attempt to weld them back into another shape, the existing shape, they lose their integrity. And now they become even more of an issue because they can bend or snap. If somebody tilts in it, the leg can give out from underneath it. So that was not an option that we could address. Then we tried getting additional caps for the bottom of those metal legs. But as you can imagine, plastic caps that go on those legs still break. They still fall apart. They still fall off. And we're right back to square one of needing to find a solution. Felicia, as you all may know, graciously spent a solid 2 to 3 days researching and reaching out to different companies about what type of solution they would recommend. And most of them told us get new chairs. So we tried really, really hard to find a solution of salvaging the chairs that were there so that we didn't have to incur this additional cost. But we were running up against, roadblock after roadblock. To speak to the rug, I was given a contact from Steve of somebody in the Bellevue area that actually takes and fixes the rugs and whatnot. And they told us that vinyl binding is not something that they work with. So they were not an option. They did not have a recommendation as another option. So we just started researching what the cost would be to replace that rug. That rug is about 16 by 16 feet, give or take a few inches. So the price point is, as you can imagine, more expensive than, you buying an area rug for your home, because we also have to look at the commercial aspect of the amount of wear and tear. To the homeowner's comment of how many hours we see the pavilion getting used, we have to take that into consideration when purchasing the furniture for the facility, because it does have to be able to maintain that wear and tear. So all great points, all great questions, not something that has fallen on our wayside. We definitely don't want the pavilion to be viewed as a stepchild or unloved, because we do love it immensely. It is a great facility, but just as a reminder, it is 7 years older than the villages. So by comparing, yes, Steve, I'll be done in 2 seconds. By comparing the pavilion to the state of the villages that is less than 1 year old in usage, it makes it difficult to say, they're different. They're not the same. So I'm going to go ahead and pass it off to Steve. And then I do see that there's a comment in the chat. We'll get to that in just 1 second.
Right. Exactly what I was going to get to. Doug has a good suggestion. If he has an opinion upon what type of furniture should be there, whether or not it should have wheeled casters or not, we'd encourage you to write to us with what your desires on. And we're going to give that to the amenities committee to look at, and they're going to make recommendations and give the board some options. So send in your concerns and desires for what you'd like that furniture to be. When we're talking about changing the furniture, we're talking about just the chairs and possibly the tables that are right on that rug. For now, we're going to leave the couches in the pavilion alone. They're fine. And the outdoor furniture was also questioned in that homeowner submitted comment. And we'll have the amenities committee assess that for us as well. And Debbie, you're asking, whether or not these things are on a depreciation schedule. I really do encourage you to take a look at the reserve study on the portal. Again, it's under documents and then association budget and then reserve studies. The reserve study, for lack of a better term, is a depreciation schedule in and of itself. So take a look at that and see if that fits your needs. And that's what we use to do our long-term budgeting. Thank you.
Okay. Does anybody else have a question, comment they would like to add on the topic of revamping the pavilion? Is there anything else before we move on to our next topic? Going once?
Joan's got something, but you got to unmute.
Yeah.
Okay. I know this is going to be more expensive, but maybe in the long run it won't be. Why have carpeting? Why not have it hard surface?
It's great. I was actually wondering if I should say something. There's a little history there. So the pavilion's actually rather reverberant with that concrete flooring. That rug that we're actually talking about didn't currently exist, and it was part of a conversation, and it created a lot of frustration for a lot of people who had hearing issues because it is rather reverberant in there, having a hard time with conversations. When card players were playing, they had their shuffling. It was really noisy. So at the time, it was kind of like William Lyonish. It was before the Taylor Morrison switchover. It was purchased for the association to help with acoustical issues in the pavilion. Kind of the blinds help with that too. We had looked into getting acoustical panel up on that building, but they were really unsightly and very expensive, and we just never found a bid that really justified the cost and expense. So yeah, the rug was purchased to help with acoustical issues. So to your point, I was thinking about that, where I was like, yeah, you could just roll on the concrete, and that was the original intention. However, that does create audible concerns.
There's a comment in the chat, just to segue. It says, regarding the outdoor furniture being left out over the winter, I know that there has been a desire to have it available all year for groups to meet on that heated patio year round. So furniture that could withstand that seems to be important. Great,
I don't think
great
that's
point.
the furniture we're talking about, though. I
It's
think we're
the,
talking
yeah,
other side.
I'm going to go ahead and just cop to that. That is absolutely my fault, 100%, guys. In the transition of being lifestyle to my new position, it slipped my mind. But now the good news is it'll never happen again because it's very in the forethought. So my apologies sincerely to the community for not catching that sooner. And by that, I mean the patio furniture that's on the backside of the gym. But thank you for bringing it to my attention. Okay. Well, if there's no other questions or comments regarding the pavilion, are we ready to move on?
I think the next section on the agenda was the treasurer's report, if we are ready to move on.
We sure are. So let me go ahead and share my screen so you all can see that. And let me know when you can see it. Give me a thumbs up. Perfect. Okay. March financials. As of March 31, 2025, the current account balances are total operating accounts assets, 827,375.19. I'm not going to try to do it in real numbers, guys. Checking account, 108,671.71. Operating sweep account, 634,236.73. Other accounts, that's your receivables, petty cash, and prepaid insurance, 5746675. Reserve fund, 442,592.84. Delinquency as of March 31, 2025 is 1,053. Your capital contributions, you've had $24,000 with 5 homes closed in March. Year to date, that puts us at 33,600 with 7 homes closed in 2025 to date. Owner accounts on file as of 4/11/2025 was 388. Again, these financials should be up on the portal soon for homeowners. If they are not already up there, you can find them under documents, association financials. Okay, are we ready to move into our committee reports?
Yes, and we will start with the first listed is the Budget Advisory Committee, also known as the council, I guess, but it's okay.
And is Bill, you are on the.
Oh, there he is. He's in London. Where are you? No, that's New York. Never mind.
Bill, I see you. You are muted, but if you want to go ahead and unmute yourself, I have made you a co-host if you have anything that you need to share.
Thank you. I will share my screen. And you should be able to see the first slide. Anyway, hello, everyone. My name is Bill Pate. I am the current chair of the Budget Advisory Committee. And the first thing I'd like to talk about is the 2024 budget. The January board meeting, we weren't able to talk about the 2024 year-to-date numbers because December wasn't quite finished. So I'd like to point out that for last year, we came out, we were budgeting and expecting expenses of 1.37 million, and we actually only came out with expenses of 1.249 million. So we had $120,000 under budget on expenses, and we were $12,000 over budget on income. So the amount of cash that we needed to burn down, we anticipated spending $362,000 if we'd had the full amount of budgeted expenses. So fortunately, we only needed 228,974. Came to be the difference in expenses greater than our income. So far for this year, for the first 3 months, our income is $19,000 over what we projected. For January, February, March, we projected 319,000. We actually, our budget was to 338,000. Our actual was 319, so we're actually $19,000 below what we projected. And that's because we're not closing houses as fast as the budget projects. And the budget with our budget is a straight line. So we just presume whatever number we're going to have for the year, we just divide it by 12, and that's what the budget comes out to be. And the same thing with the expenses. We budgeted in the first 3 months to spend 442,000, but we actually only spent 330,000. And that's primarily because again, the budget isn't a straight line. So what we didn't spend in January, February, and March, we will probably spend in July, August, September, when our large water bills and some additional landscaping work is done. And now that we're into spring, landscaping expenses will pick up, and I'm sure Craig will address some of the exciting things they're doing in landscaping. So from as far as income and expenses go, where the association is looking fine. One of the other areas that the BAC looks at for the health of the association is net assets. And net assets is really just our total assets, which is primarily cash, minus our liabilities. So if we paid off every bill that's in the system right now, what we would have left would be our net asset. So as you can see, going back to 2021, we have a slightly declining amount of cash. We dropped a lot between 21 and 22. We made that back up in 23. 24 dropped a little more. Right now in 25, as of March 31st, we're up a little bit from where we were in December, and that number will continue to fluctuate. One of the questions that we get a lot is, why do we have so much cash? I mean, why as we sit here today, why are we sitting on $781,000 at the end of last month? And the reason for that is we have to make sure that we have enough money to have that excess cash that we were talking about using to pay down the difference between how much we're going to spend and how much we're going to take in. So our cash subsidy, as it were. So for 2025, we're projecting 417,000. Now we didn't do all of the 362 last year, and hopefully we won't do all of the 417 this year, but we need to have the cash if we need it. And the other thing is the HOA industry standard is to maintain 3 months of expenses on hand. So we can always pay for 90 days of expenses. And in our case, based on this year's budget, that would be another $442,500. So we should have approximately $859,000 in cash on hand. We actually had, as you saw, March 31st, 781,000. So we haven't quite reached that number. I'm not concerned about that. And the reason for that is very simple. If you go back to that slide that we looked at before, so far in the first 3 months, we're $112,000 under budget for expenses. So the fact that we're $80,000 under our cash goal is not a problem, because we're $112,000 under our expense goal. So we're actually in pretty good shape. The association, we have a conservative plan, and we're doing well with it. So if you have any questions after this, I would encourage you to look, as Steve mentioned earlier, at the documents in the Documents tab on the portal. You'll find all the financial information there, the monthly financials, the budget, the reserve study, as Steve mentioned. You can contact Takara and ask her any questions. She's familiar with the financials. She looks at them every month. And if you have a budget question that she can't answer, feel free to email the back at ovationback@gmail.com. And that's all I have.
Thanks.
Okay.
Good to hear. So I think our next one is the ACC committee. And I think I saw Smitty.
Yes, you did. I am here. This is going to be fairly short. We will have a new standardization document that Takara is going to post toward the end of the month. But the only change in there, and it's been really kind of driven by questions that some of you homeowners have sent to us. The only change we're making at this juncture is on the exterior paint of your home. For the body and the accent colors, you may now use either flat or satin sheen finishes. Okay, it no longer has to be only flat. We are allowing both satin and flat for the exterior body and accent colors only. When you're repainting your house, the snowbound on the trim still must be only satin. Okay, but we're allowing either one for the other colors. All right. So just wanted to let that let that be out there. And again, it'll show up when Takara posts the new standardization document toward the end of the month. The other thing I just want to remind people of, because it's spring and soon we normally see people getting bark. But remember, per the survey that we had last year about barking in our community and the reports from the landscape committee about how much that actually costs in our budget, remember that we had come up with the board and the landscape committee, and your input, we had come up with a plan where we were going to allow homeowners to provide their own bark in their front yards if they so desire. So remember, this year, nobody is going to get bark from the landscaping company, except for the new homes up on the hill, okay? They still get it as part of their, their initial delivery, but nobody else in in divisions 1, 2, or 3 is going to get bark this year. Now, that also doesn't mean that you have to bark, okay? That is not a requirement. So if your neighbors want to do it and you don't want to do it, you don't have to, okay? And there's a lot of details starting on page 5 of the standardization document that if you haven't downloaded that on your own, I recommend you do it and you go read it. But I just wanted to go over some basic notes. So if you decide that you want to bark this year, if you do it yourself, you don't have to have an ACC request submitted. However, if you hire a contractor, you have to submit an ACC request. You also are responsible for making sure that that contractor abides by the rules that we set up in the standardization document for cleanup, when they can drop the stuff in order to spread it and all that kind of stuff. And again, the details are in the standardization document. But again, if you do it yourself, you don't have to have an ACC request. Now, where can you put it? The only places that you can put it is in the front planting beds, so the planting beds closest to your house, or if you have a planting bed between you and your neighbor to the left or right, you can put it in there as well if you want to maintain some aesthetic consistency. You do not put it in the parking strip between the sidewalk and the street, okay? That is common area that is managed by the landscape committee, so you do not put any bark in there, okay? The bark has to be brown or dark brown in color. No black, no red. You can't pick up other things like river rocks or colored stones or compost or manure. You can't put any of that stuff in there, only bark, okay? Brown or dark brown, and of either fine to a medium texture, and you'll see the difference in the textures if you decide to do it and go to purchase it. and at a depth of 1 to 2 feet, or 1 to 2 inches, excuse me, 1 to 2 inches. And if you decide to do it, again, when you're putting it in those front planting beds, make sure that you scooch it off the sprinkler heads so that the sprinklers have a chance to come up and still water, okay? That's your responsibility, all right? Let me see. That's about it. I just wanted to highlight that because this is the first spring that we're heading into these new standardization rules. So again, if you want to bark, you can. You do not have to. Even if your neighbors left and right are wanting to do it, again, you do not have to. If you're doing it yourself, you do not require an ACC request. However, if you hire a contractor, you do require an ACC request, okay? And again, brown to dark brown only, fine to medium texture, nothing funny out there. Have fun. Let me know. Does anybody have any questions on that? Again, it's in the current standardization document, pages 5 and 6. Okay, so that's exactly where that is in the document. Any questions in the chat or anybody raising their hand?
I don't see any questions in the chat. If anybody else has any questions, feel free to pop those in there. We can always come back and address them later.
Okay, that's all I had. I just wanted to make sure everybody understood that because this was new for us this year. So we'll see how it goes. That's all I had. Thanks.
Great, thanks. I'm just going to piggyback real quick. It is very active already in the ACC committee. There's a lot of applications and a lot of projects. So please remember to make sure you have all the information and they're completed, which will help us expedite your application. And we ask questions because we want to just make sure we're giving you the right decision. So please don't be offended by questions. Getting better, but we still have some sensitive folks. But it's not meant to say that we're not approving. We just want to make sure we understand because it's not always clear. But they are getting better and they are getting more detailed. So we do appreciate the ones that are starting to come through completed. All right, who we have next? Landscape Committee.
Good afternoon, everybody. This is Craig Gable, Chair of the Landscape Committee. We're starting to get into the active period of landscaping. Kind of the core time for us is April through October. And you can probably sense that there's a lot of activity going on with our vendor, Puget Landscape Management. The orange trucks that you see around the community are their trucks. You probably have noticed we're now on a weekly mowing schedule now that we've moved into the month of April. And I think they're continuing to mow at a relatively high level just to allow good growth here in the springtime. You probably also seen they've been testing the irrigation system. And as part of that process, as they go through the system and fire it up sort of section by section, if there are issues, they flag those issues. A single flag generally means that there's either a clogged or a failed nozzle. If you see 2 flags together, it generally means that sprinkler head needs to be replaced. And if you see 3 flags, I've not seen 3 flags this season yet, and together, it probably means that there's a pipe break or some larger issue that needs to be taken care of. I know today that they were working on flow sensor upgrades. We talked about that at the budget meeting, that they would be doing that this year. And they've been working on that today and finishing the IQ card installation. So that work's underway. Spring moss control application being done. I know that there's some things going on now. We're getting pricing on potential spraying for crabgrass. No decision, I think, has been made quite yet, but we're in the process of reviewing that. Big event for us is next Tuesday is Earth Day. And as we've done over the last 6 years, we encourage people to come out and participate in that day. We basically break up into smaller groups and actively peruse the community and pick up any trash that we can. We'll gather at the pavilion. We'll break into those smaller groups. We'll go about our business of picking up trash and then return back to the pavilion and have a pizza party.
The Villages.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. In my mind, I'm thinking one and I said the other. The Villages. A couple of things to tell people. We do not want anybody in the community to go down into any of the retention ponds. Even if there's stuff down in there, please leave it alone. It will be addressed from a commercial standpoint. It's too much of a liability to potentially have people go down into that area. And for any of those people, either that day or when you're walking through the preserve, please again, and we say this rather frequently, the preserve, the wildflowers it's a really sensitive ecosystem. And so the trails are there for a purpose, and the purpose is for us to stay on the trails, not to wander off the trails and out into the sensitive ecosystem. A couple of steps off the trail, and you can do significant damage to some of these very fragile wildflowers. And you know, it's such a pristine thing that we have, and we have an accountability as a community to continue to keep it that way. That's our dedication to Thurston County. So help us. We would really appreciate that. And last, I guess not least, like all committees, we're always looking for new members. We would hope that we could get some people potentially from Division 4 that might have interest in serving on the committee. We tend to have representation from all the different divisions, but currently nobody represents Division 4. So it would be nice to have somebody from that area. I think that's everything I have. Are there any questions that have popped up?
Not yet.
There are no questions in the chat, but I did want to just kind of piggyback really quick on something that Craig said. If you plan on attending the Earth Day pizza party, please let me know so that we have accurate numbers of how many community members we can expect. It will be held at the Villages, which this is the very first year that we have done that. So I understand why the thought of the pavilion popped up, but please join us in the Villages, but please also let us know if you plan on attending so we can have accurate numbers for all that plan on attending.
One last thing, I didn't mention it, but we will be gathering and sort of departing from the Villages at 10:45. And that's Tuesday, the 22nd.
And just to also piggyback, Smitty is letting everyone know that the ACC is also looking for new members. So join their committee before landscape. Just kidding. Just kidding. Just kidding.
Okay, Smitty, we're going to have to duke it out here.
That's funny. Great. So it looks like Communications Committee is next. There's Miriam.
Okay, I'm here.
There you are.
Yeah, thank you. I'm Miriam Hewitt, the chair of the Communication Committee, and we have a great, excited committee that brings you an every other month newsletter. We manage the residents' Facebook group and try to provide, helpful communication to you in a timely manner. So first of all, I just want to thank everybody who completed our newsletter survey that we had a few weeks ago. We were really excited about the results that we got. Generally things were pretty positive. So that made us feel pretty inspired. And you'll look in the May-June newsletter that's going to come out by May 1st, look for a report on the results of that survey and the actions that we're taking there. So hopefully that'll be kind of a good feedback loop for what you told to us. We also want to let you know about the Communication Committee's opt-in email list that we use occasionally for communication that isn't official HOA business. We're moving that to a Gmail account platform going forward. We really needed it to be scalable for the way that our community is growing, and what we had been doing, having in like my personal Xfinity account just was not working any longer. So look for that. I think that probably the first use we'll use for that is when we start communicating about soliciting patios for the upcoming Patios on Parade event that the Ovation Gardeners event or group will be doing in late June. And also just a quick reminder, one of the things we do is we provide kind of tip sheets and handbook information on the HOA portal. Look in the documents section, the Ovation Nation Handbook tab. We have the Ovation Nation Handbook there with contacts for committees and HOA people and even area resources. We also have tip sheets. We've sometimes saved things like we had a list of area restaurants in the last newsletter. We've put that into the handbook kit, and information about how your step systems work. So when we do a lot of research and come up with a great story like that, we kind of put it into that handbook kit folder so that you have that information available for easy reference. And if you ever have any ideas or suggestions, we always welcome those for the newsletter, pictures, ideas about, and we just try to keep track of questions that are community-wide and try to answer them when we can. So that's about it. If anybody has any questions, let me know.
Great. Thank you. So we have our last committee report is the Amenities Committee, and I believe I saw Belle on the call earlier.
Hi.
There she is.
Yeah, the Amenities Committee, we're not looking for any new members right now. We're fairly new, so we do have quite a few members. Our focus has been working on the pavilion reservation process, and we have completed the process and trying to simplify it to where there'll just be 3 things: the reservation form, the pre-event checklist, and the post-event checklist. And we've submitted our changes to those forms and our edits to Takara, and they will get up on the portal when they are approved by the board and everything is taken care of. And then we'll be updating the pavilion information notebook that is available for people when they do reservations to pull off the shelf and take and look at all the information that's in there. As a reminder from the Amenities Committee, we do have different areas that we're responsible for and we look at. And we'd like to remind people to report any damages or anything that they see to Takara so it can be taken care of. And also as a community, when you're there yourself or with your groups or your private events or your family, to try and remember to treat the amenities with respect and know that in everything that Steve Bay brought up earlier, that there is a cost to things that we have to replace and take care of. So, and as a committee, we're working really hard on trying to keep up with reporting back to the board and to Takara what the needs that we need in the amenities and also the damage that's found and the replacement. And our committee is going to, on Earth Day or Cleanup Day, our committee will be at the pavilion. That's where we're focusing our efforts. We were going to let Craig know that that's where we'd be going to work, is at the pavilion, and try to get it zhuzhed up and all taken care of. So, but that's all I have.
Great, thanks. Cara, did you have anything?
I was just going to say that there's two really great messages in the chat that I want to make sure the committees hear. First one says, we greatly appreciate our committees. Thank you all. The second says, I truly appreciate all our committee members. I'm sure it can feel like a thankless job at times, but I thank you all for the time and professionalism. So many smart and dedicated people here in Ovation. So join a committee and you too could be singing those praises to your members. No? Okay. That's all I got.
Your marketing skills need a little work.
They're a little rusty,
All right, so we're going to head into the management report, which is all you.
It's me. So I'm going to forego sharing my screen if you don't mind, because I have quite a few topics that I want to go through with my notes. So if you don't mind, I'm going to go down our management report, but without showing it. So first one, annual calendar vendor information. I already spoke on this briefly, that the windows in the pool will be frosted. I'm just waiting for the information on scheduling from the vendor. Please note that the day that they come in to install that, we will close the pool and spa during the time of their work so that they're not trying to fight around splashing or other people, but it will be only for the extent of the time in which they are actually actively working. As soon as they are done with that job, we will open the pool back up to the community. So be on the lookout for that information. It'll be coming your way once I have it. Craig did mention the upcoming moss control. That is starting tomorrow, Thursday, April 17th. It's not a chemical that they use, but it can have a very strong iron smell and almost like metally. So you'll smell it. It's not a chemical. It's part of the component that they use to control that moss. But the landscape provider also asks that please stay off the concrete if you've gone through the grass, because that can stain the concrete. So once the application has been put down, it usually only takes, a couple hours in sunlight to dry, but please be mindful of that. Again, that will start tomorrow, Thursday, April 17th. Timeline is dependent on how quickly they're able to get that application on the various lawns. So next, we talked a little bit about landscaping. Smitty and Craig both kind of talked about the front yard maintenance. I just want to remind everyone that front yard landscaping and maintenance is an HOA responsibility. That includes mowing your lawn, fertilizing your lawn, trimming your shrubs and your trees. So if you find that your front lawn is in need of some attention, please either reach out to myself directly or you can submit a request via the portal. I do review those. I do respond to them. I send them over to our landscape supervisor to have them help put eyes on what you are recommending. Please also note that we are just starting our true landscape season. So things are going to be progressing and coming out of dormancy. And so, they are well aware of what is happening and they are working on their plan and their schedules. So just know that it is something that they are working on. I'm actually going to share my screen for this next one because I want to talk about the City of Lacey meter boxes that are in the street strips. And I wanted to let you know that we were able to let me know when you can see my screen, please, Jennifer.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I reached out to the City of Lacey in regards to the meters that are in the street strip spot, and they said as long as the rocks do not block the meter and or prevent our technicians from assessing it, it should be fine. If we are ever out there for readings or maintenance and have an issue, we will send the account holder a letter requesting they unblock the access. So this has been an ongoing topic for the last year. So here's a photo of what we're referring to, that City of Lacey water meter. Please be mindful that, no invasive root systems going in there. They need to have access to that at all times. If there is damage to that meter box, it will be the account holder's responsibility and not the HOA. So if you are somebody who has put plantings in there or river rock, please note that is your sole responsibility. And if City of Lacey reaches out to you, that will be something that you are required to mitigate. So please, if you have further questions on that, you're always more than welcome to reach out to me and I can address those with you at a later time. So moving on to the next topic. Couple of reminders and housekeepings, boohoo. So just a couple of things reminding about the pool. So when you are utilizing that pool equipment that is in there for either your fitness, whether it be the weights or the noodles or the kickboards, please take the time to put those back away where they belong. Per the Department of Health, we need to maintain the apron around the pool for a walking path. So nothing can be in the vicinity of the pool directly. And we also cannot have any metal within the 4 feet of the pool. So that includes that tote that has all the weights and such in it. So if that gets wheeled out and you're using it, great. Just when you're done with it, please put it back in that room so that if we do get a surprise inspection from the the Department of Health, that way we can be in compliance. Next, please no food or drinks. This includes candy and gum. It does not include water in a non-glass container. We have noticed that there has been some additional debris in the bottom of the pool following our family and guest swim. So that also means if you are bringing in a guest or family member, you are responsible to make sure that they are adhering to our rules and regulations. That is one of them. So we ask that you please keep that in the back of your mind. Additionally, we have noticed that we are getting some small rust stains on the bottom of the pool. We believe that it is from metal items such as bobby pins or hair clips. We can't be positive. We don't want to drain the pool to find out. So please do not have any sort of metal-like items that could fall out of your hair and sit on the bottom of the pool, creating stains and rust. Additionally, we sent out notification that the door that was on the exterior by the pickleball courts is now strictly an exit only door. You will not be able to enter through that. We ask that you go down to the next door that's closer to the locker rooms and enter through that way. A lot of outside shoes were creating additional debris in the pool area, which was again settling at the bottom of the pool, creating a bummer of an experience for those that are trying to get their aerobics done or just generally enjoy themselves. This is the last one about pools, I promise. We are noticing that people are leaving personal items in the cubbies and on the pool deck after their usage. We ask that you please bring every item that you bring with you, take it home with you. Additionally, our lockers are for day use only. So please do not store anything in the lockers. Regularly, the HOA staff will go in and audit those lockers. And if we find one that has been sitting locked for an extended period of time, we will unlock it. So please be mindful. Don't leave your things. We only have, 25 lockers in each locker room with over almost 400 homes in the community. So please be mindful of those around you that are also wanting to utilize that. And then the last thing I will say about lockers is we have had a influx of individuals that are locking themselves out of their lockers, and it's frustrating and inconvenient. My suggestion is if it's after hours and HOA staff is not here or on a day that we're not scheduled to be here, please don't bring any valuables down here that need to be down or that don't need to be down here. And if you're comfortable, we recommend leaving the locker unlocked. Our building is a secure building, and it is only through fob access that individuals can access that area. Again, no need to bring, your family jewels or your bars of gold down to the pavilion or the villages when you're working out. So please leave those items at home. And if you don't have to lock the locker, please don't, because we do not want to have what happened down at the pavilion, where lockers are being pried open, causing damage and, unreplaceable. So please keep that in the back of your mind. Any questions on any of that before I move on? No? Okay. Villages security. So we are in the process of installing security cameras around the exterior of the villages. I've been working on getting those dialed in and checking coverage. I'm going to show you guys a screenshot of what you can expect to see as far as the coverage of it. We are not done. Once we are done with the villages, we will be moving down to the exterior of the pavilion just to add that additional layer of security for our amenities. With that, when you are entering a facility and somebody is coming behind you and you're holding the door open for you, please verify that they are a homeowner. Please, if it's somebody you don't know, yes, it's very polite to open a door for somebody, but if you don't recognize them, that negates all of the security that we are putting in place to protect these amenities and assets of the HOA. And we want to just make sure that everyone's playing their part in helping us secure this building especially when HOA staff is not on site, to be able to help kind of manage that on our own. So please be mindful of that. I'm going to go ahead and show you guys my screen here in 2 seconds of what you can expect to see for the Arlo cameras. It's just, again, I apologize that the Zoom is extremely slow today for me. Let me know when you can see it with a thumbs up. Perfect. Okay. So as of right now, we are not fully installed. As you can see, there's still some cameras in the offices that I'm sure as we scroll, you might see me in the background. And we are having some connective issues with the Wi-Fi, which is what's been delaying us. But you can see this is the corner of the fitness building. So this is looking out towards Bowthorpe and the pickleball courts. And you can see we have a really great view. So if you notice that there's damage or something suspicious, please let us know sooner rather than later, because you'll also see over here that we can go back to the date and scroll through the motion that was detected in order to identify where the problem arose from. So again, if you notice something, please don't hesitate to share that information with us so that we can, again, go in and see if we can find something that might lead to an explanation of that. Any questions on that at this time? Okay, then we're going to move on. Candy, I see your comment in the chat that you don't want the windows frosted, just washed. We are actually unable to wash that little bit of debris off. That is a calcium buildup that did a little bit of etching on that glass. We are not going to be frosting the entire window, where I think we're going to about 5 feet tall, so that it will add some privacy for those in the pool, but you'll still be able to look out and see the preserve and also still get that beautiful natural light. And we are only doing the windows on the back side of the preserve, so that once we connect that trailhead to the preserve, people walking through there won't be looking into the pool while people are doing their water aerobics or whatnot. So to answer that question before we move on.
Actually, Takara, while you're on the topic of the trail,
yes.
Do we just provide that update while we're here?
You betcha.
Yeah.
You betcha. So we have been in contact with the arborist. We are working on a scope of like laundryless items for him to come and maximize his time and effort. So we anticipate he is currently working about 1 month out. So we anticipate that we might see him in June-ish. That will be when he checks the health of the oak preserve, looks at any areas of concern, and then also he will be the one that helps us navigate tying in that stairwell at the backside of the villages to the oak preserve. We have to have the arborist be the one to sign off on that. It's not something that we can rush with our landscape company. So that is the reason why there has been a delay. It's been scheduling issues with the individual that we are not his only client, and he actually is not in Western Washington. So it's been a little bit of an effort to get a time that works for both parties. But we have made contact. We anticipate him here in about a month to a month and a half, give or take. No guarantee at this time.
And just for the for edification, we're just helping, we as an HOA are helping Taylor Morrison execute that with the coordination with the arborist, just because Daniel Maple actually has been with the site since day one. He did the initial oak tree preserve monitoring reports and planning. So that's why we've chosen to retain, and he's done all of our assessments of the areas of the homes that abut the preserve. So he's very intimately familiar with our community. So that's why we're still choosing to have that relationship with him, in case someone's like, well, wait, why is he so far? He always wasn't so far, but he does travel back and forth a lot. And so we're just helping facilitate getting the trail done. I don't want the HOA to think that we're paying for the trail to be connected. She's just helping coordinate.
Thank you for the clarification. Okay.
Yeah.
I pinky promise I'm almost done, guys. I only have just a handful of things that I want to touch base on really quick. So the next one is going to lead into the next one. So to the amenities committee's point, they have been doing an amazing job of updating the reservation forms for the pavilion. One topic that is being discussed at this time is having a refundable cleaning deposit added to reservations for community members. This is a way to help ensure that community members are doing their part, that the pavilion is being maintained by the community, and that also those that are reserving the pavilion are taking those steps to make sure that it's left in an adequate and also a respectable way for the rest of the community. So that is something that the board is discussing. We wanted to bring it up to date on this call in conjunction with one other topic before we go into a quick little survey. So it literally is 2 questions that I'm going to ask you. If you all can take a moment to respond to that so I can get the feedback from the community. The next question is, as we continue to grow in this community and we continue to provide limited space lifestyle events, do you believe that if somebody reserves a spot for a lifestyle limited space event and they do not attend, that they should be assessed a fee, a fine, to help manage that if they don't cancel their reservation with an appropriate timeline, that another community member can take it? So with that, you're going to see a quick little poll pop up. Let me know when you see it. Good. Yes? No? You can take a moment to answer those 2 quick questions. And we will take this as a pulse for the community in making the decision. While you guys are all working on that, the last thing I will say as far as a lifestyle update, we are actively in the process of interviewing. We had a really great interview today with somebody that we think could be a really positive fit for the community. So we're getting much, much, much closer. I appreciate everyone's patience in this transition. I personally am very excited to hire a lifestyle person. I don't know about the rest of you guys. So, all right, I'm going to go ahead and end this poll. If you haven't had an opportunity to answer, you have about 30 more seconds. Going, gone. Okay.
You're pretty excited about that new hire. Are you really?
I mean, just a little bit. I mean, as much as
I wonder why.
All of this time with you guys, I kind of would like to get a little bit of my life back. The last thing I'm going to talk with you guys about, and then I'm done, I swear to God, and then we move on to the next thing, is the outdoor spa pool deck area. The times that we are allowed to have that operational is not dictated by the HOA. It is dictated by the Department of Health. Those times are dawn to dusk. So we are going to be opening the outdoor spa deck to extended hours starting May 1 through September 1. And you will see those signs going up shortly. That will also include on May 1, we will adjust the times on the doors so that the doors going out to the spa deck will remain unlocked up until that close time. The second that close time is approaching, you will either need your fob or you will be locked out. So please keep that in mind. The second thing is, if you are using the pool, the lights in there are automatically set to turn on at 6 a.m. and to turn off all but 2 access lights at 9 p.m. If you go in and you override that and push the lights back on, they do not auto off and they become an inconvenience for the residents that live within the vicinity of that. The lights are left on all evening. So please, 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 if for some reason you decide that you need to swim longer than what the rules allow for, and I'm not here to, babysit people after hours, at least be courteous enough to turn off the lights so that the residents that live in that near vicinity are not being bothered while they are trying to sleep and trying to, enjoy their homes peacefully. So with that, that's the last of my updates. I'm gonna throw it back to Jennifer. Sorry, guys. Long one.
I'm just writing down the pool stuff real quick. Okay. Yes, so I don't have a lengthy Taylor Morrison update. I think you saw, hopefully all of you saw your Division 6 update, and that is going to be the Canoe Land Development Construction Area behind the alley loads on Oakwood. So that's sort of part of what was originally known as Division 1. So yeah, they're currently moving a lot of dirt in the month of April, and they'll still be moving more in May, but with the wetter weather still, it's not quite so dry. They provided us with a window though. So if you do want to paint the exterior of your house or restain your fence, you don't have to, but it was just recommended because a few people had reached out wanting to inquire about dirt. As we get into July, it does get warmer, drier, dustier, and even though the Taylor Morrison Land Development Team will be using mechanisms, street sweepers, and water trucks, it doesn't eliminate all of it. It's just kind of hard to contain when they're still doing construction. So there is land development out there. There will be approximately, I don't have the final fit count, but they will be single family homes just like everything else. It won't be a different product. Those who have been around for a while, there was chatter back in the day of potentially putting a different product type, meaning like a townhome. That is not happening. It will be just the same as what we're currently building, the single family product. And I don't know exactly how many, but I think I'm just going to choose a safe number. So don't commit me, around 30 additional homes in that little area. So that went out, and then they'll provide us with some more updates if anything changes with that schedule. But we wanted to allow people the opportunity to do some of those exterior projects within that window. The only other update I was provided from the team was sales, which I thought was kind of interesting in Bill's report. Actually, oak tree sales have been doing really well. We've sold about 15, and there's a couple of others in the queue for 2025. We're kind of on target. We're holding pace. The sales manager said that he couldn't say that about other communities within the division. So Oak Tree actually was a very solid performer during COVID. Sales actually remained very steady in COVID, and we're actually seeing that right now. For some, there's some uncertainties in the market, here and there. So I do know it gets brought up a lot during the purchase and sale agreement, or when people are coming as prospects. Jeff Telvik has shared that there's a lot of B-backs. So people who've come and looked at the community about a year or so ago, for whatever reason, chose not to buy, are coming back. And we've actually gotten a few of those prospective buyers in contract. So he feels pretty optimistic about our sales rate and our progress at Oak Tree. So yay us, that's also good news. So to Bill's point, we want to make sure we get to that projected end number, that helps us maintain our budget and project appropriately. So we're on track so far, according to sales. So I don't really have anything else other than the event update. Someone had, I don't remember how it was submitted or if it was brought up during a pre-board meeting, committee meeting. And the question was, Taylor Morrison is actually, I have the invoice, got to pay it. Cara gave you the invoice. So we did pay a fee for that special event that we had while the amenity was closed. So it comes to a grand total of $3,000 that will be coming back to the association. And that is including utilities and a room rental fee that's commensurate if you were to go to rent a banquet hall, some other place at a venue. So we used current rates for that. So that will be coming to the association, which every dollar counts. So we appreciate everyone, being flexible with that. And it was definitely a force to be reckoned with having all these individuals come to our site. But we had some pretty high level people in Taylor Morrison, including Cheryl Palmer herself on site. And she was very complimentary and felt like the community was beautiful and can understand why everyone's so passionate about using the villages and the pavilion. And they really enjoyed being on site and felt very, had a lot of gratitude for allowing them to come and visit and have the event there. So that was pretty much all I had for TM updates this time.
Okay.
So I guess we segue into old business, which is the amenity handbook.
Yes. I'll go ahead and crack that one. So we apologize for the delay on getting the amenity handbook. We were going back and forth on including the recommended cleaning deposit that the amenities committee had recommended. We are going to be sending out the amenities committee without that. It doesn't mean we're not doing it. We will just send out an updated version once a decision has been made. So with that, we will be sending out the updated copy of the amenities handbook via a mega Adobe style DocuSign. We are asking every resident to sign acceptance that they received it, because it also includes in the language of the amenity handbook, we are getting rid of the amenity waiver. And by acknowledging the acceptance of the amenity handbook, you agree that you will keep your guests and family members that are, non-residents to the standards of the association, and that you assume liability for any guests that you bring in. We found that that was the smartest way to make it so that when, let's say you want to bring your grandkids to the pool on a Sunday evening, because the hours at this time allow for it and there's no staff here, that eliminates the need for us to collect a waiver from every single guest that might want to come in, even just to have a cup of coffee with a resident that lives here. So if you have questions on that, please do not hesitate to reach out to us. It is just you are acknowledging that you did in fact receive it. We will also be using the DocuSign method because it will show us the tracking capabilities of those that received it when they opened it. And this is all just another layer that we are putting in place to protect the association. It doesn't protect Taylor Morrison. It doesn't protect Nova or management company. It has nothing to do with those third-party individuals. It has everything to do with protecting the association and its community members moving forward. So that is the holdup. We apologize. You should see that in the next week, give or take. I will send out an e-blast through the portal, letting people know that it'll be being sent because it won't be coming through the portal. If you do not receive it after you see that email go out, please, please, please let me know. I will make sure you get a copy of it.
New business.
New business. Okay, so, well, first and foremost, welcome Stan Trask to the HOA board. Thank you, Stan, for doing the job of coming and stepping up for your community.
Yeah, thank you very much. I'm having a good time, learning a lot, and still have a ways to go, but we're going to get there. So thank you.
We're all very excited to have Stan. So when you see him out in the community, or if you go down to his office hours, be sure to thank him for being a willing participant. And, you know, don't forget to also show your gratitude to Steve, but we'll let Stan have this moment to himself. Okay. Next one. All right. With that, as you may or may not know, we will be holding a board candidate election for not an additional homeowner on the board, but to replace an existing homeowner on the board. Steve is very excited. Steve has graciously dedicated 4 years of his retirement life to assisting to develop a functioning and healthy association. Obviously, Taylor Morrison and Jennifer have been, you know, great in helping put those guardrails in place, but Steve is the homeowner that has dedicated countless hours, countless conversations, countless meetings, insert whatever metric you want to utilize. It has been a massive sacrifice that he has provided. So regardless of, you know, what your opinions are on the association or whatnot, please take a moment to thank Steve when you see him, because 4 years is a very, very long time to dedicate to anything. So great job, Steve. Thank you.
I'm going to piggyback on that.
It hasn't been a massive sacrifice. It's been an amazing honor. It really has.
Well, I'm going to piggyback on that because Steve has been very instrumental in the development and the success of the community, whether, you know, you don't always have to agree with every decision or whatnot, but like he has been probably one of the best homeowner board members I've had in my, 12 years now, just because he's been so dedicated and really put a lot of blood, sweat, and tears. We've had a lot of late conversations. We've had like, what do we do? A lot of researching. So, you know, he's been really instrumental, and he started on a committee. You know, he started on a committee and then gradually worked his way through coming to the board. So to Takara's point, please thank him for his time, effort, and service, because as someone mentioned in the chat, you know, it can feel thankless. It can feel thankless. And, you know, I don't think that's always everyone's intention, but sometimes it just does feel that way. So we do appreciate everything. And I cannot thank him enough for a lot of the assistance he's provided me with this community as things have gotten really challenging. So thank you. All right. Okay. Someone said, thank you, Steve. Great job in the chat. Thank you. Yeah.
Another one. Thank you, Steve, for all of your contributions to help guide this community. So thank you again. Just want to have a moment. Let Steve and Stan sit and bask in their different levels of board involvement.
Glory.
Okay, so moving on, because I know we're getting close to that hour-and-a-half mark. The next one is we would love to invite Joan Zaluska to talk from a representative for the election advisory group. So Joan, if you are there and you want to unmute yourself.
Okay, thank you, Dakar. Okay, it has been less than 1 year since the first meeting of the election advisory group. Within those past 9 months, a budget ratification vote and the election of a new HOA board member were held. with the leadership of co-chairs Kathy Varney and Robin Adams, input from the rest of the EAG members, and the great feedback from the Ovation community, the EAG has developed an election process and will continue ongoing efforts to analyze and improve communication to residents regarding budget and HOA board member candidate information. Once the date is announced for the next HOA board member election, the EAG will hold an information and Q&A meeting regarding the board position to educate anyone interested in the position or homeowners wanting to know how they are represented. We will notify the residents when that meeting date is set. We encourage residents to utilize EAG to obtain or clarify accurate information, to reduce misinformation and supposition, which may occur if residents only communicate with their friends and neighbors. We want to thank everybody who attended the past information meetings and submitted questions. We feel it is important the community is educated and involved. We believe this contributed to the very successful voter turnout, achieving the required quorum for the budget ratification vote and the new board member election. This allowed residents to express their voices in the management of our community. We hope more homeowners will get involved. And that's about it. Thank you.
Thanks.
Amazing.
Yeah, so her point, we are still working on some dates. We're getting pretty close. So we'll be able to start announcing sort of a sequence of events leading up to the next election and the informative Q&A and all that good stuff. So they've been great with helping map out, what we've learned and our successes through Stan's election. And we've gotten some good feedback. And then, it's helped us guide for the next one. And then we'll sit for a little bit on elections. We'll see how that goes in case anyone else resigns in the interim. But we probably won't have another election until transition, which is at 75% closed, which will be dictated kind of by the rate of sales and how we progress. So if we start blowing through homes and start closing them, that could come sooner. But yeah, that's that. Let's see.
Last thing.
Yes.
Community survey. So just to piggyback and remind you all, you will be seeing a survey coming through about pool usage. Please take a moment to go in and respond to that, even if, maybe it's not even that you have an opinion on the temperature of the pool. We're trying to gather that data so that we have it going into budget season so that we can have, in lieu of the hard numbers for the BAC to work off of, at least then we can have, some idea of what the community envisions the usage to be going forward. So that is the next survey that you will see. And thank you everyone for participating in my quick little poll regarding fees and deposits. That's all I got.
So that takes us to the long-awaited homeowner forum section.
Takara, it's Craig.
Hi, Craig.
Can you give us feedback as to how the vote went?
Let me pull it up and see what so finalizing the results. The first question is, do you think there should be a fee for not canceling an RSVP to a lifestyle event? I have 85% of those that participated said yes. 15% said no. The second question is, do you think there should be a refundable cleaning deposit for private events held at the pavilion? Out of the individuals that participated, we have 94% said yes, 6% said no. So it looks like the community as a whole is in favor of protecting the amenities and the events and activities. Any other questions? Going once? Any hot gossip?
So this is this is the homeowner forum. So if you want, you can put it in the chat or you can raise your hand. So, or, if you don't feel comfortable on this avenue or platform, you're more than welcome to always send an email to Takara and she can get it either to the board or the appropriate person to answer the question.
So Doug, you brought up an issue about for lack of a better term, and simplified waiver, right? An acknowledgement that you've received the amenities handbook by clicking on it, right? It just seems common sense to me that you'd want all of our homeowners to protect each other by abiding by the rules. And yeah, it just seems like a standard practice we'd want to do that. So, now's your chance to let us know what your concerns are. And of course, we would encourage you to take a look at the document. What do you got? Doug?
I
Let
think
me
he's
see
still
if-
muted. Well, he's on. I just don't know if he's
Yeah.
able to speak.
Well,
let me unmute him.
and if Doug doesn't want to speak, how does everybody else feel about it? It just, again, it seems to me like it's standard practice protecting each other from liability because we're all owners in the same association. All right.
Doug, do you want to take an opportunity to express your? No? Well, I'll go ahead and read the comment just so that everyone's up to speed on what we're talking about. So if anybody else wants to weigh in, that way you have an opportunity with full. So the comment after reviewing the amenity handbook came up. It said, I object to having to accept any further requirements beyond what we agreed to when we bought into the community. So, I understand. Go ahead, Jennifer.
Yeah, it's not another restriction though. It's something that was already in place with the pavilion. So the villages is just an extension of what we've kind of already had. And when you purchase your home, you agree to the governing documents, which as Steve was pointing out, like explain to us what, we want to know and understand. So maybe this isn't the right avenue or platform. So we're not fully getting his full communication. So maybe we can set up another time or he can send it to us in email so we can make sure we clarify that for him. But when you do purchase your home, you do sign on and agree to the governing documents, and there are mechanisms within the governing documents for the association to have regulations and rules. And we're not restricting anyone. We're just saying you're accepting liability, which is kind of a similar situation if you go anywhere else, right? If you have guests anywhere else, it's just, we heard feedback earlier about the waiver. So we received it, we've processed it. We're trying to find another mechanism that just allows to make sure that people receive it. Because we did hear people say, I didn't get this, I didn't get that. So it's just a way for us to track. It's really not compliance per se, but no matter what, you're still adhering to the community rules in that regard. So probably more to come if Doug can share a little bit more, but I see that there's another comment in here about what about garbage cans? Just hard pivot. What about garbage cans left outside a fence or garage? So in part, I'll speak a little bit to this, Takara, and if you want to elaborate. In part of getting a lifestyle activities coordinator person in place, it allows Takara, our association manager, to be more active in compliance. It's really hard for her right now as she's been almost 8 months juggling 2 positions at a time to some degree. So that is something that people should be putting their garbage cans back behind the fence. I know that sometimes people go on vacation, be a good neighbor, make arrangements. I'm not quite sure if there's a specific situation, but yes, compliance is one of those things that we will be addressing much more specifically when she has more of an opportunity to go there.
You guys will see me out in the community quite a bit more here once I am not stuck indoors as often. So thank you for bringing that up. It is something that needs to be addressed. I appreciate everyone's patience. We're getting there. We're slowly but surely getting there.
Yeah, we are. And I see there's another comment in here. Someone says we want to protect ourselves against lawsuits. So just reading what's in the full chat if people don't have it open. Right, so more to come with some dates for another election, amenity handbook getting rolled out, some surveys coming ahead. We do really appreciate all the active dialogue and the communication we've been receiving. I feel like it's a lot more productive as of late, and it's helping us help you and service the community and the association. So
one last comment really quick before we move on. Comment in the chat. It says updating documents and changes will be important for the well-being of the entire community. I agree on protecting our community and the HOA. If if and when we are asked to sign key changes, I am confident we will have an opportunity to voice our opinions and thoughts. So great feedback. Again, yes, that's how we got to where we're at, is we heard the feedback in the comments about the initial way that we planned on rolling out a waiver. That's how we got to here, is that we did hear, in making a business decision, the board makes business decisions for the community based off of what it will best protect for the longevity. So that is the reason why we're trying to go towards this. If somebody has a better suggestion or a better solution, we are all ears, but we are trying to find what is the most logistical and easy to roll out for the size of the community, and also sustainable as we continue to grow. So
great. I feel like we need exit music.
I know, right? Anything
wrap
else?
It's like an award ceremony. It's like wrap it up music. Okay, well, if there isn't anything else, I guess we can go ahead and formally adjourn at 5:37.
Just a reminder for everybody, the next HOA board meeting will be held on Wednesday, July 16th at 4 p.m. So we hope to see you all then.
Great. Thank you.
So Takara, I think you
Oh,
can
hang on
stop
one
the
second.
recording.
I was just getting there. I was gonna say, hang on one second. Let me do one thing at a time.
That went quick. Both of you like pew, 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 pew.
We were trying, but I can
It's
only do
like
one.
whack-a-mole.